Okay, so this is part 9 of my walkthrough, if you like, or discussion going through my Hex Flower Cookbook, which you can find on drive-through. If you haven't seen the last, whatever, 8 episodes, then I encourage you to go back and look at them. So I think where I left off, I was talking about my procedural adventure, Carapace, which was incidentally reviewed on Fear of a Black Dragon. So if you want to know more about Carapace, you can listen to that. Personally, I think it's a great adventure. I would. It contains different ways of procedurally navigating a giant ant colony. And one of the procedural methods I used was a hex flower. Um, and in the last episode, if you like, I was talking about how I used a mobile event to get the players. It's essentially a pursuit mechanic, and I should really write a bespoke pursuit mechanic hex flower because I think people are often looking for that. It would just be a little mini game. Okay. All right. So this is class 6. Again, I made up the categories. They're not real categories. So what I figured is that one of the ways you could use a hex flower was, things like a little kind of generator where you want to have interrelated rules. So this thing here is again a snippet from something I put on drive-through. It's meant to be a race and class generator. So the idea is that, again, you have your navigation hex. In this case, you'll see I've mixed it up a bit. I'm using a D6 and a D8. A couple of reasons for that is that in this case it's a symmetrical hex flower, so it's just a straight down left and right. There's no bend this way. I also had a 9 means you stay in the hex you are, which I quite like. And also, if you use a D6 and a D8, you don't get a straight bell curve, if you like. You get kind of a slightly flattened bell curve. Essentially, if you roll 2 dice and there's a gap between them, then you end up having more of a plateau. So a 4 and a 10 would be more of a plateau, and a D2 and a D12 would be a bigger plateau again. So there's a neat little trick if you want to spread your probability profile out. Anyway, on this hex flower, the idea is that you take 2 rolls. The first roll generates your race here. So the least probable race in this case is a gnome, most probable is a human, elf and dwarf are the next most common, halfling and half orc are the least probable after gnome. So once you have your race established, you roll again, and that will pick up your class. So let's just pretend I rolled, for argument's sake, a 3 and a 2. So 3 would mean I was a half orc. Can you see 3 goes that way? 3 means I was a half orc, and then I rolled a 2, which would take me back this way. And you see here that would make me a fighter illusionist. Really? Oh, no. Oh, I see, I put a rule in there. That's a block. If you get a block, I think you stay in the square you are, so I'd be an assassin, half orc assassin. Yeah, see, disallowed direction, stay in hex. Let's do another one. Let's say we rolled, I don't know, 12 and a 12. So 12 would be a halfling, 12 again would be a thief, a halfling thief. Because sometimes you can return to the same hex, I'd put an extra tranche of classes. So if I rolled 6 for human, and then I rolled, 7 for human, go down, and then I rolled a 2, I'll take it back here, which means I was a monk or illusionist. So, you can see how you can build a hex flower that builds in the decision tree, if you like. I did once think about the idea of having a hex flower that was only these 3 directions ever, and that way you couldn't return very easily back to where you started. So that'd be an interesting idea, and I partly used that in a dungeon crawl hex flower that I made. And I can imagine this being used in a sort of yes/no engine. Yes, no, yes, but with a fail. No, with a consequence or whatever. That kind of, I guess it's dungeon world and that kind of hex flower you could make. And possibly, if the next time you do it, you're kind of already in the negative space. It's harder to get back to the positive space. Maybe positives over here and negatives down here. Anyway, I think you get the idea. So that's another way you could potentially use a hex flower, sort of a decision tree, I guess is a way to call it.